What's up, everyone? It's Scotty with Money Investing. So Google reported their second quarter fiscal year 2023 earnings. So in this video, we are going to break down exactly what they reported, the year-over-year growth rates, after hours price action, do a little bit of technical analysis. As always, if you enjoy this video, find it helpful, make sure that you drop a like. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you're just joining us for the first time. The link to our Discord and Patreon is going to be down below if you're interested in joining us. And of course, getting access to all the buy and sell alerts, options alerts, trade ideas, everything's going to be included. And I did also want to mention that I started a brand new lower priced tier for Patreon if you simply want to be a part of our money investing community and get access to the private Discord chat as well. So the link's going to be down below and we'll love to have you on board. So this right here were the actual numbers for Google. Revenue came in at over $74.6 billion. That was a growth of over 7%. Now here's the thing. Google is comping over some very tough numbers in a year where digital ad spending has compressed and contracted a little bit because of all the higher interest rates, borrowing cost, and of course companies not being able to afford higher budgets when it comes to marketing and advertising and those types of expenses. So we have seen a little bit of contraction. That's why the growth rates are in the mid-single digits for the company. Again, revenue up 7% compared to last year when it was up a little bit over 13%, but still nonetheless, very, very strong, I would say, growth in a tough year. So $74.6 billion. Operating income was at $21.8 billion, and we did see an increase in operating margin. Why? Because the company has done a really good job in cutting down its expenses. So they have obviously been laying people off. They've been cutting back on projects, different investments they've been making. And as a result, the operating margins are back at over 29, close to 30%. And operating income was up pretty nicely from $19.4 billion to $21.8 billion. And net income was also up on a year-over-year basis from $16 billion to over $18.3 billion. So a lot of these companies have really made it their goal in this year, their objective, to be very efficient and of course do what Wall Street wants them to do, that is to cut expenses and somehow manage to find a way to increase revenues. And as a result, still posting some very strong EPS growth of $1.44 compared to $1.21. And I think we're going to see a very similar trend from Meta tomorrow. So when Meta Platforms reports earnings tomorrow, I think we're going to see something that's very similar to this print, where the revenue could increase in the mid-single digits, operating income could increase, operating margins might be very strong for Meta considering all the cost cuts, the layoffs, and the pullback in spending that they have seen and also told us in previous earnings calls. And Zuckerberg's come out time and time again talking a little bit about this year of efficiency. So when it comes to segment revenues, you'll notice that Google Search and other was up from 40 to over $42.6 billion. YouTube ads definitely saw some good growth from 7.3 to 7.6 billion. In fact, this number also ended up beating expectations, what Wall Street had. And Google network revenue was slightly down, but overall, we saw Google advertising up from 56.2 billion to $58 billion. So still posting some decent growth here. And other revenues were up from 6.5 to $8 billion. Perhaps the brightest spot for Google's earnings here was actually Google Cloud, which competes with Microsoft Azure and of course Amazon Web Services. And that was up from 6.2 billion to over $8 billion. So if you do the math, 8 divided by 6.2, we're looking at a 29, almost a 30% growth on a year-over-year basis for Google Cloud for Google. So that's, again, very, very strong numbers there. Other bets were up from 193 to over $285 billion. And total revenues, once again, from 69.6 billion to over $74 billion, up 7% year over year. And total TAC was 12.2 billion last year, same quarter. Now it's 12.5. That's traffic acquisition cost. And number of employees did go up, but not as much as what we saw in previous quarters and previous years. So definitely slowdown in hiring for Google. Now, when it comes to operating income, Google Services and Advertising obviously is the profit engine for the business, 21.6 to 23 billion, and Google Cloud was also profitable at just under $400 million. So their total income from operations was up on a year-over-year basis. Balance sheet continues to be very, very strong for the company. And again, YouTube ad revenue rose at 3.3%. Google's advertising revenue rose 3.3%, and YouTube ads came in above analyst expectations at 7.67 billion. Up from 7.34 billion year over year. And Google Search and other revenue rose to 42.6 billion, up highly from last year, and other bets, which include Waymo self-driving car business and Verify Life Sciences unit, reported a 48% increase in revenue, 285 million. That's up from 193 million. The division still did lose money, about $813 million, and net income was also up to $1.44 from 16 billion same time last year, $1.21 same time last year as well. So after hours, Google up a little bit over 5%, 5.6%, deservedly so, because I think the earnings were very good in terms of beating expectations for both revenue and EPS. And guidance was pretty good. And we also saw some pretty good growth here on a year-over-year basis, despite all the headwinds and challenges the economy faces from an advertising standpoint. And of course, Meta was also green after hours. You guys know where my fair value is. That is still going to be a little unchanged at close to about $96 per share. So from those levels, Google obviously is trading at a much higher level. So 96 is going to put us roughly around here. And it is up a little bit over 38%, trading just over 129. I traded up to as much as 132. So if you take a look at this breakout for Google, very strong breakout. It got tapped out at $131, $132. So this right here is still going to be that resistance to watch for Google tomorrow for us to see whether it actually breaks above that level or not. And this right here, we're going to go ahead and turn this level into a support at 127. And of course, the all-time highs for Google sit all the way up to 153. And of course, I've got a covered call sitting at 150 for Google. That's going to be another 15, 16% potential upside needed for Google. Now, Google is one of those companies that I do expect it to get up to its all-time highs by the end of this year, because again, things are only going to get better, in my opinion, considering the contraction in advertising. We're kind of way past that, unless of course there's a big if interest rates continue to go higher. If we see a couple more rate hikes, tomorrow is the FOMC, so there's a macro sort of dynamic to the whole equation as well. So if interest rates keep going higher, and of course we are sitting at higher for longer, and the economy starts to show some real signs of weakness and unemployment starts to come up as well, well, what's going to happen? Spending's going to drop. Companies are going to make even less money, which is going to lead to even less spending budgets when it comes to marketing and advertising and all those expenses, which could eventually affect Google and Meta and some of these social media advertising search companies as well. So that's the only big if. But if the economy continues to be resilient as it is right now, with the jobs market being very strong, I think the advertising market is already past its worst. So the trough is over, and now only things can get better moving forward, which is why I do expect Google to potentially hit new all-time highs before the end of this year. That's going to be maybe a 15, 16% potential upside here from Google. And we obviously do need a breakout above this resistance of 131, 132. And again, getting up to as much as 143 to as much as 152, some of those next resistance levels to watch for Google. So still optimistic, still dollar cost averaging at better value. So definitely not here, but anything sub $100 would be great deals, in my opinion, for Google. In the meantime, looking at selling calls to take advantage of those premiums. And again, selling out of the money calls with low deltas, where the probability is going to be really low for that call to be in the money, so I don't have to deliver my shares. But I'm also comfortable getting rid of some of that position in the 150s, 160s, if and when Google actually gets up to that level. That's going to be the all-time highs for this company as well. So let me know in the comment section down below, what do you think about Google? Again, are you buying, selling, holding? I will do a separate video on Microsoft as well, but Meta Platforms also higher after hours, pushing up a little bit over 1.6%. So piggybacking off of Google's earnings. But make sure that you drop a like. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you're just joining us for the first time. Link to our Discord and Patreon is going to be down below. Don't forget, we do have that 16% annual discount available till the end of this month. And we also do have a brand new lower price tier available for private chat members only. And the options course that does expire at the end of this month, the coupon code LAUNCH with a 50% discount as well. Happy investing. I'll see you all in the next video.